It's fascinating because really the biggest shift here is that it's not using data that's generic. So, you can look at Twitter trends, so the market and see what's happening.
Absolutely.
This is about extending your readers that actually vote the independent. They come to the independent, they choose you, they love you. What do they do when they leave? And that is the biggest bridge, because then you can also marry different segments. How do I think about subscribers? How do I think about loyal readers? And then what do they specifically like? And then use that as a growth engine. I think it's you're one of the best stories we have at Taboola. I think specifically, and a lot of it thanks to you, because you are able to bring data and editorial point of view, which is the hardest thing to do. Which it's this, there's a glass ceiling to break, which is to bring to a way things used to happen. Bring data into it and evolve it and change it.
Sure.
And now, we're able to speak about driving growth to journalism using both editorial strong teams as well as data.
Yeah, it's very nice you to say it's down to me. I don't agree with that. I think it's down to a lot of people I think that the Taboola team they're amazing individuals and they're an amazing team. When I changed jobs, I became managing director during lockdown about just over a year ago. And in the first week of that, I just had this massive Zoom call with basically everyone on your team. I just got them all together, and we had John and Mark and Frankie and Jason and loads of people. And it was just and Nigel and everyone. And we just kind of laid out everything that I was doing. It's okay, I'm in this job now. I'm suddenly having spent my whole life at this company. I'm now the new kid in a new job, which I don't all entirely understand right now. So I'm just going to tell you everything I'm doing. And then you can tell me how you can help me at the end. And it was great. And we just set that one thing up. And so many things came out of that. For example, one of our big strategic pushes, and you just touched on this, is not just about kind of web traffic trends, which is what people think about when they think of web data. It's the deeper engagement stuff. And in Newsroom, there's a whole thing of finding people that look like they should be subscribers or they've got subscriber potential. And actually for us, we do subscription products. We've got 2 subscription products and, they're fantastic businesses. But we were putting a real emphasis on user registration. So we want first-party data. So sign up, have an account, we'll customize the site a bit, we'll give you a load of things like emails, etc. We'll reward that. And finding those people suddenly became our challenge. So phoned up Nigel.
Of course.
Nigel, how's this? I can't find a platform that can show me the users that are going to be, how can I customize messages to people that could register? And he said, it's really Newsroom. We don't do that right now. And I was like, right, okay, fine. And he said, but let me come back to you. And then sure enough, a couple of weeks later, he'd come back and it works and it's great. And it's a fantastic way of finding those people. So, it's good that there's data. It's amazing. That's the fundamental. Is that you've got the data. You're that company with the unique position of being able to show me readership data versus the market in real time.
Right.
And that's amazing. But I don't think it would be that powerful if you didn't have the people. So the fact that you've got people who really enjoy working with us, it does feel like an extension, genuinely, of the team. It's not just through me, it's through a whole bunch of people on our side. They were all kind of matched up with teams in Taboola. And it's been 7 years now.
7 years. 7 years of joy.
7 years. They've passed quickly. We've done a hell of a lot together in 7 years. It's been fun. And now the thing is that everyone's kind of got someone that's matched up with them in really important. So Fran is one of the guys in your audience teams in New York. And, he still checks in with our teams in New York now when we've got new people that we're onboarding. He dips in, helps with the training, so he's actually he plays a really important role in training our new our new reporters or our new people in audience teams to just understand, because journalism doesn't connect. And it's not just about audience growth and money and growing a business and opening offices. If journalism isn't being read, really? When the Independent still had a print product, we had an editor. He had many catchphrases. He's a very charismatic guy. And one of them was, there's great value in unread journalism. If you have that, that kind of spread of the paper that kind of makes you feel intelligent because it's in your paper. But you're not really going to read it because it's a bit daunting looking. You haven't really got time. But there's great value in having that because it says something about the Independent. And actually online now, if it's unread, it's just ones and zeros. on like a server somewhere. There's really no merit in stuff that's not being read. And if it's being read in big enough numbers, we just did a whole presentation this week about what makes the Independent special. And the thing we came down to is it's about making change happen. People look around the world, they see massive problems. We've got, crisis in leadership, like political leadership across the world. Nothing's bringing people together, fractured societies. We've got massive problems to deal with, like whether it's COVID or climate, things like that. And you've got to have journalism that connects people, it informs people.
Especially now.
And if people aren't really engaging with that, you're just missing the spark. Your journalism is just not as powerful as it could be. So it's not just about the business side of it and revenue.
You mentioned connecting people and being at home and how journalism is even more important because I need guidance and I need advice and I'm trusting the publisher that I'm connected to. But another thing that happened over the last year and a half, which led us to make a big bet on an acquisition we just made, was e-commerce.
Uh-huh.
We saw this phenomena. The New York Times here with the Wirecutter, CNET, Meredith, has a huge e-commerce business. USA Today has Review.com. What we started seeing these big premium brands extending themselves as a way to provide more value to consumers, reviewing products.
Yeah.
I just bought, by the way, pans for my house because I love to cook. And I told my wife, I cannot make a decision without going to All Recipes. Please give me a moment. And I went to All Recipes and I checked some things out and they gave me advice and I immediately made a purchase because I trust them. And I trust them so much more than I trust Facebook or Instagram.
For sure.
And so for me, especially now, we're home. We can't go to the stores we used to.
Yeah.
I think we're more, in many ways, we're almost in the future because we're making decisions to purchase things and interact with services like never before.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, that bit of a cliche, but 10 years of change have just happened in like a year, right? Because of lockdown.
I mean, look.
And e-commerce, 100%. I mean, we saw our e-commerce revenue go up like 60+% year on year. I mean, it was huge. I mean, even now with like supply chain problems all across Europe and the world and America, we're still seeing huge lean into e-commerce and growth in that area. So we have IndieBest, which is our kind of shopping reviews site. We're rebranding that to Independent Best. We're investing in it.
Is that a separate website?
It's connected to. It's called IndieBest. It's now going to be Independent Best. Is going to be the name of the specific reviews area.
Yep.
But we're actually going to blend it all the way through because we think it just delivers really good value back to brands. I mean, if you take like an outdoor advertising, I always pick on outdoor advertising. It's kind of mean, but try and show me the return on investment of that outdoor advert. Like, oh, what do? You say, well, 1,000 cars drove past, and 5% of them might have looked up at the advert, and like actually, what did that give you? Whereas if you've actually, if you can provide a service whereby you can show people back, actually, we drove these clicks that led to these sales. That's pretty direct. And as you say, for readers, they want to go to a company with real reach across multiple subjects, with real trust, huge trust metrics. And news publishers can do that. The Independent has got that. They're the most trusted news brand out there. Genuinely, we outrank everyone on trust. So if we can give you really independent, unbiased view, good research on what one to buy, then you're going to get some good pans at the end of it, and that's probably what that decision's all about for you. So it's a good thing to it's great for news publishers.
So I love it. I'm convinced. I was on an analyst call. Now we're a public company, and I said I believe the open web will become like this huge shopping cart. We're going to bring Amazon to distribute it to all these amazing publishers, and consumers will really appreciate the opportunity to consider buying things on the back of a publisher recommending them it's the right thing to do, or at least give them options. And then one analyst asked me a question, which I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And she asked me, in the spirit of quality journalism, what challenges does the editorial team have writing content about products, which is so, distant from what they used to write about? So what are the challenges you face? And if she's listening, you'll tell her what's the answer.
Well, there's a couple of challenges. One is knowing what stuff to write about. So knowing what your audience is into. That takes us back into like the last subject, because Taboola Newsroom can also tell you not just like news subjects, but it can tell you whether people are into watches or smartphones or AirPods or whatever it may be. But the other one is discovery. So a lot of that is based on SEO. So, if somebody starts off with a web search and says, what's the best pans to buy? Right. There's a good intent to purchase there. But actually having that knowledge for people that are already on your site and going around your site is kind of harder. So at that point, you need the user data. You need that first-party registered user data. Because if I can know a little bit about you, we can serve you with things that doesn't feel like it's kind of pestering you with kind of here's an offer, here's like some sort of spam mail kind of approach to giving you products to buy. We can actually hit that sweet spot of what you're genuinely interested in. Now, I think actually some of the walled gardens, they have a data advantage in some ways here versus like individual publishers. But if you combine that with the Taboola network and you have that, you increase the size of that, then you can get that richness of data for the open web, which is a really exciting opportunity. So one of the things you need with that level of data is scale. You need to have like multiple sources of data there. And that's where Taboola can come in, because it has that for the open web. It has that scale of data across multiple sites. So it's a very unique proposition there. That's why we need to find these user registrations. So we've got first-party data. The advantage that I think publishers have got over shops and over traditional stores is that I was chatting to a guy who sells advertising for a fashion brand, let's say. I won't say which fashion brand. But he was saying that fashion brand actually really doesn't have much first-party user data because it's a really, really famous global brand. Everyone, watching the video, and you would have heard of it. But they've usually been sold through other stores. So the manufacturer doesn't really have a relationship with its customers. It's just such an obvious thing. But now in the e-commerce world, that's a problem. That's a really big problem for them. Now, for a company like The Independent, we can really fill out a very rounded profile of, if you're reading stuff on our site, I might know that you might be reading our cars section, Adam, or maybe our cocktail bars section and, seeing some reviews of those kinds of things. But we can pick up loads of different data points because we write about so much stuff, from parenting, thank you very much, to travel, to whatever it may be. So we can actually, build a really rounded picture through that user data. I think that, combined with the trust and the reach, that's the real advantage. That's a real opportunity in e-commerce.
So again, you're using data as a way to kind of cross the chasm, to know where to begin and not spend a year writing things and then find out that it's not what your readers...
Yeah, because the opportunity is now. It's really upon us. It just happened so fast in the last year, right?
I'm a big believer.
You can't get it wrong.
I think, by the way, that, and I said it publicly, a third of our revenue, and as a proxy of that, a third of your revenue, that's my belief, in 4 years will be coming from e-commerce.
Yeah.
From consumers making decisions to buy things, to book things on your site. And that's a big deal versus what it looks like today. I think for the vast majority of publishers, e-commerce is sub 10% of revenue. And I think it's going to be a third, potentially even more. And especially because we have changed and we will never, I think about going to the doctor now. If something hurts me, it's amazing to imagine that I used to wait 2 weeks to go to the doctor versus now I can click a button and talk to someone in a minute. If I think about, online education, local traveling, buying food, all these services that I'm now taking for granted, it's amazing to me that I used to do things differently a year and a half ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And now that means I'm going to buy more, try more, do more. And there's no better way to be exposed to those through publishers. I want to, we're coming to the end of this amazing session. Hopefully we'll have martinis later.
I hope so.
But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for agreeing to have those drinks with me back in the day.
Yeah. Thank you for, I think you may have picked up the tab for those drinks. So thank you for the drinks as well.
It's paid off because I earned partnership and friendship.
Yeah.
And you've always been, I think, you mentioned people earlier, and I completely agree that at the end of the day, people do business with people. We're talking about data and technology and growth and pandemics and changes. But the main commonality through all of this is just culture and people and friendship.
100%.
And I miss that the most, in the physical world, to be honest. We're here in my office now, and it's so nice to see people walking outside. So I hope we'll come back to that, more of that, because I'm not sure what's going to look like. But as we finish, I want to ask you kind of when you think about the future, like you're taking a view about the future of the independent, the future of publishers, maybe an advice for us as Taboola or companies like Taboola. What's on your mind? Well,
I think you should definitely lock down your market research team because the numbers that you spoke about on e-commerce are very familiar. I've got to present a plan for 10x growth in revenue over a 3-year time period to our board in a couple of weeks. So they are the numbers you just spoke about, basically. The other one is, the other leap we're making at The Independent is independent TV. I remember you telling me that the idea for Taboola came to you at a frustrated moment watching TV at your mum's house, and you couldn't find something to watch. And you said this great thing. It's like, why am I sitting here trying to find content? Why can't the content find me? And that's the whole idea of recommendation. So it's something that we really back the independent as a brand with a broadcast future. We think 100% we can do visual storytelling, we can do documentary, we can do lifestyle stuff. We've had extraordinary results. We've put 125% growth year on year on our video revenues in just 12 months since we lit this project up. So we're really, really investing heavily into TV, and I see us on OTT, and I really want Taboola as part of that, because finding what people want to watch is what it's all about. So that is a big one for us. And I think really presenting news in a better way on homepages and surfaces is something that there's still a long way to go. We are currently doing a project with you I've called it 100 homepages, because Taboola was on our article pages, right? And it wasn't on our homepage, and it wasn't on our section pages. And it was like, should we have it there? How could we have it there? And so we designed a unit with your team based in London, but also with, it's your team out of Tel Aviv who did this, wasn't it? And we've worked with your team a lot over about a kind of 6-9 month period, and it's still going. We now have a big area of our US, UK, and Asia homepages, which are currently being run by a Taboola AI algorithm, recommending things for those individual consumers. It's working really, really well. The click-through rate is really, really positive. But we wanted to set the bar higher. And we wanted to say, not only is this kind of machine learning approach going to find stuff that you're really interested in, but we can apply it at a bigger scale than we could at a human level. So we just thought, what's a level that's kind of off the charts that no individual person could do? So we said, 100 homepages. So the homepage, the sport page, the politics page, the topic page that's around a certain sports team. Can Taboola and the independent work out a way for even those subjects, those real niche topics? Because, big web audiences are just built up of lots of little web audiences that are interested in certain things. But what you're interested in probably isn't the same as any other single reader of the independent. You are you, and they are them, and everyone's slightly different. So how can we treat that? Now, the 100 homepages, we're up to about, I think we're into double figures now of where we've got it. So there's a long way to go, but it's a really exciting one for me.
This is a great place for us to stop. 100 pages, connected TV, expanding to help consumers discover things they may love but never knew existed. I'm going to do cheers with you with coffee, and hopefully cheers later.
Martinis later. Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.